Hello, how's everyone doing this evening? Hope that everyone is blessed and favored. So good to see everyone's faces. So we are here. I am Kayla Finn of Unspoken Treasure Society, where the trans community comes together to make a difference. This virtual meeting or conference we're having today that we are hosting, it was basically about surviving COVID-19. But in light of everything that's going on in the world today, I just kind of figured like we could just have some dialogue about that as well. And as well as any, the COVID topics, we can kind of reflect back to that, but we have so much more going on. So I guess we'll go ahead and start. And I'll start off with the first question and I'll let everyone come in with their, well, first of all, let everyone introduce themselves. How about that?
Okay. I'll go first. I am Natalia Dupree, also known as Regina Livingston. I'm the founder and president of Unspoken Treasure. I'm so happy to be here tonight with your esteemed panel of adjudicators.
I guess I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am Tatiana Williams, the co-founder and executive director for Trans Inclusive Group. We provide an array of services in South Florida. I also have some affiliates with Equality Florida and also with the AIDS Human Rights Campaign.
Takia.
My name is Zakia McKenzie. I'm the executive director and founder of Nations Foundation. And I am excited to be here to have conversation with all of these amazing and fabulous advocates and leaders in the community.
Okay. Dwayne.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Crowder, executive director and founder of A Vision for Hope, located right here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Queen.
I am Queen Hatcher-Johnson of Atlanta, Georgia.
Is Tori available? Tori, are you on?
Yes, I am on. You all can hear me, right? Good evening.
Yes.
My name is Tori Cooper, she, her, and her pronouns, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement at the Human Rights Campaign.
Okay. Okay, guys. The reason I put together this symposium, you can hear me? Everyone can hear me clear? Okay. The reason I wanted to put together this symposium is because there has been so much going on surrounding this pandemic, COVID-19, the president and the awful things that he's trying to do within the trans community. However, there has been so much that has happened between planning this symposium and with the things that are going on today. So I kind of wanted to, touch on those things, but we probably should dig into what's going on, now a little bit. So I'd like to first give the floor to Tatiana and just give me an idea in your area, what's going on with the people, how is the survivors of COVID-19 and the hospitals, how is everything being handled in your area with the COVID-19?
Well, with the COVID-19, everything is pretty much the same like it is in other places. I would say now that we've had a rise since the community opened back up as it relates to COVID cases here in Miami and Broward County. As it relates to like what's going on in the community is still disproportionately impacted because a lot of people had situations pre-COVID. So COVID kind of exacerbated the situation. And we're still helping people with services here. A lot of the services within the other organizations that provide services to the community kind of subsided. But with Trans Inclusive Group, we're able to help our community members because we have an ongoing emergency crisis fund. But yeah, and on top of just not COVID, it kind of shifted a little bit, right?
Exactly.
So when we got, with the George Floyd situation, it kind of like put COVID on the back burner and people just started moving in a whole nother direction and it changed the climate of what's going on in the community. So we shifted from thinking about health then we started thinking about equality, equity, and what does racism look like within our community. So we kind of like shifted gears. However, we still are worried about the healthcare concerns with our community. So we're kind of moving, and it's like a few things impacting. And now we're going to talk about, we have 2 trans women recently that just have been murdered. So it's like, it's so many things that's happening right now. We can't even wrap our head around one thing and we're moving to the other. So I mean, I'm more than sure that we all are experiencing the same thing. My thing is, how do we overcome? What does that look like for us as a community? How we could work together for some type of global change. That's where I am now, and that's why I'm here.
Okay. Queen.
Before we, Alex didn't get a chance to introduce himself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'm short. I get overlooked a lot.
Go ahead,
I'm Alex Santiago, president of I Am Human Foundation in Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Queen Hatcher.
I'm not very well versed with the COVID situation in Atlanta, so I will let Dwayne answer that because I've confined myself to my home just based on the fact of COVID-19 and the violence against trans women. So I'll let Dwayne answer.
Okay.
As far as COVID and hey, how you doing? As far as COVID in our organizations and how has it impacted the work that we do, I think that it has impacted the work that we do tremendously because we're not able to freely and quickly and swiftly get to the places that we would normally conduct the type of services that my agency offers. As far as housing, I think it's drastically added to the layer that we were already facing with housing, because even now in our transitional housing program, at some point, our clients, they have to pay subsidized rent. So if they can't work or they've been laid off from their jobs, we have to take that in consideration that they're not working. So we have to find other resources to be able to enable our clients and motivate them through what we're going through. And as far as our clients, as our services that we offer, I've seen other agencies take a step back as far as the services that they were offering prior to COVID, but I just feel as if COVID has made it more prevalent for that to be used as an excuse of why we can't offer services. Because as you know, we're back open, we're offering services, we have traffic coming in, because just because it's COVID, HIV hasn't stopped, clients needing their medication, that hasn't stopped, clients needing transportation to a medical provider hasn't stopped, and the needs and even the mental health needs that they need, because some people just can't cope with being alone. Because I see a lot of times that we're quick to judge individuals for going back out in public during the pandemic, but we have to realize that individuals are facing mental health issues that they have that trauma impact situations that they're dealing with, and they can't necessarily just cope on being alone. So I understand those cases as well. And how has my agency kind of got on the front line with COVID? We're one of the first CBOs here in Atlanta that are actually doing COVID testing. We do COVID testing, COVID antibodies testing. I think today, as of today, we've done maybe 175 NP and OP swabs, 52 antibodies tests with confirmatories of 17 individuals that have tested positive that are living with HIV with COVID. So COVID is definitely here. And from what my understanding, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see the numbers rise even higher as individuals start to be tested for COVID. Because if, keep in mind, Queen, and as I know, at one point you could only be tested for COVID if you had the symptoms. So even with my agency starting to do COVID testing, at one point we were only doing COVID testing for those who had insurance. So I kind of fought for COVID testing to be free through our lab providers. So now we're able to offer COVID testing for any of our clients or anyone that comes in with a point or cause in, as far as concerning COVID, we're able to offer free service for them as long as they don't have insurance. And we know that that's a high number of our clients and the African-American community that are, lives here in Atlanta that don't have insurance. So that's how we're dealing with COVID here at our agency, Vision for Hope.
Okay. Ms. Tori Cooper.
So, how are we dealing with COVID? So, my work at HRC, we are not a direct service organization, which is good in some ways because that means that we don't have to tell people no, because we don't provide direct services. But by the same token, it's also it's a bad thing in terms of we can't provide direct services. We can only provide referrals through agencies or entities that we already work with. So one of the things that I didn't realize, I started in this job in January. And this is how COVID is really impacting our community. I had no idea that we would be talking about COVID so much at the beginning of the epidemic. And how it affects every single thing about our transness and our trans community in ways that none of us could have possibly imagined. How COVID has taken a group of folks like us who were already disproportionately unemployed and underemployed. And now put us even further behind the ball there. And how COVID, for people who are living with HIV, has more than quadrupled their risk to get even sicker, as Dwayne just said, with the COVID diagnosis. And so having to talk about that every day is really exhausting mentally, physically, and emotionally. But then combining that with the fact that we literally are just coming out of a quarantine in the last week and 2 weeks in all of the different areas that we live in, and there's still trans people being murdered in the middle of a quarantine, in the middle of a pandemic. And so that it's really, really exhausting. And I think to be most effective, first of all, you have to prioritize and then silo the work even within your own head. And that was something I wasn't quite prepared for. But then even with that, there are times when you have to step away from the work for your own mental health, because these aren't just people. I was explaining to some of the white folks that I work with today that there is a theory that all people are 6 degrees of separation away from, every person is 6 degrees away from separation from any other person. In Black trans communities, and trans communities, and in particular Black trans communities, we really are only about 1 degree away from knowing pretty much everybody else, maybe 2. You know, it is being here in DC. I know somebody that knows somebody in Philadelphia, and all of us are like that. And so having to deal with the emotional trauma of having folks who are part of our community, and we're so close to being murdered and in such terrible, terrible, terrible ways. It takes a toll on you after a while, and it wasn't something I was quite prepared for. But we have a whole group of folks on this call that are going to help each other get through it, and then our larger community as well.
My community is kind of small. There's about 1,800 cases here. There's been about a little bit over 100 deaths. It really was, it really didn't hit really hard here, but it hit in the surrounding areas. So when I say here, I'm not saying in my city. I mean us, Ocala, because Alachua County is, you know, a wide little area with different counties, but they pretty much put it up under one umbrella. But so we didn't have to see or face like some of the things like New York or Chicago, or, you know, some of the places that went through the spikes and the body bags and the, you know, not knowing whether your family was going to, not being able to contact your family. It was just all the stuff that they had to go through. I didn't, but I felt it, you know, with my whole heart, what they were going through. And so I was mourning with them. But it's just, it's so much, like I say, that has happened to my emotions are just all over the place now. My sisters are dying. You killing our Black men. our lives is not mattering to the people that it should matter to. All lives are what matters, but the Black lives seems like we're disposable. And something has to be done, and we have to come together, because if we don't, we're in a lot of trouble. So I mean, I think that's one of the most important things that we need to face, the fact that we need to become unified. And I mean the whole community, because if we don't, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. Alejandro, tell me, what's your stance on what's going on right now?
With the COVID-19, what we do on a normal feed the homeless. But since COVID, the numbers have quadrupled as far as the number of people that we're feeding, because we're not feeding people now that are just living on the streets, because you don't have to be homeless to be hungry. So we've gotten a lot of requests for food for people who, have lost their jobs, or who have maybe had their hours reduced. Several people that I knew that were in the restaurant industry as servers have reached out to us. So our numbers, as far as the number of people that we feed, has quadrupled. And then to add to that, we noticed when we were out in the streets feeding people, that we had on masks and we had on gloves and we had the hand sanitizers in our pocket, but the homeless people living on the streets didn't have that. So that was something we had to add to the things that we were handing out. So it's been a challenge, especially with being able to provide the PPE and the hand sanitizers and the disinfectants, because in Atlanta, we were wiped out. Like, we couldn't find them anywhere. And then the places that I would find them, like a lot of the janitorial companies, they were spiking the prices to where we could barely afford, to purchase a case. So that has been a challenge here. We're starting to slowly see the shelves stock up a little bit, but still not back to where they were before, as far as the hand sanitizers and the disinfectants and things like that. But luckily, I've been able to get more of that now through the vendors, through my regular job. I've been able to buy from them. So we've been able to supply the people living on the streets with what they need to kind of protect themselves. So that's pretty much it as far as COVID. Things shifted a little bit here in Atlanta with the protests. And that got real bad real quick. We weren't even able to go down to where we were feeding people because they had the streets blocked off, cops everywhere. So that was a challenge. They didn't care what we were doing. We weren't allowed in that area. So that was a challenge for probably about 3 to 5 days, where we weren't even able to get down to where we would normally go to feed people, especially the LGBT community over there by Pryor Street and Myrtle, the church by Myrtle Street. We weren't able to go there at all. So we're going to try to make up for that this weekend. But it's been quite a challenge this past few months.
Zakia.
So for us here in Virginia, it's been a lot going on. It's been rioting and looting, and them setting public transportation on fire, and it's been pretty crazy here. In regards to COVID-19, Virginians had about a little over 53,000 cases. I think we've had about 1,500 deaths. I want to say somewhere about 5,500 to 6,000 of that 53 have been in the hospital, recovered, and released. We didn't really have really heavy restrictions in Virginia. There was, the barbershops and stuff like that closed, but our governor kind of basically gave folks the opportunity to social distance, and there were some things that were closed, especially the schools and stuff like that. And then like programmatic, like a major thing for us was our mobile testing units, because a lot of times folks don't have transportation to reach us to get to access the services that we provide. So in Virginia, there was, you know, the barbershops and stuff like that closed. But I'm hearing myself again.
I apologize. Go ahead.
Like, wait a minute. So not being able to have the mobile units out because of fear of COVID-19 and folks social distancing and all of that, we weren't able to actually meet our clients how we normally meet them out in community. The good thing is that our funders were very flexible with letting us reallocate our budgets to be able to do extraordinary and outside of the box things for specifically clients who are in our Transcend program, but also other funders kind of loosened the strain so that we could do stuff for our community. So the ways that we've been showing up for clients during COVID is that we've been having contactless food pantry drop-offs. They can either come and pick it up, call and say that they're outside, we drop it in their trunk. We've been doing deliveries. We've been shipping food off. The wonderful thing is that through the whole pandemic, we have not shut down. We were the only LGBTQ organization in Central Virginia that was still open and providing services to folks. Excuse me, because we know that our community is already impacted. We know the social determinants to health and those that specifically affect trans people. So we can't shut those services down. So we've just been really thinking outside of the box, moving our support groups and things virtually, doing an appointment only, you know, doing temperature checks, all of those kinds of things. And we've also taken on a lot of work for the health departments by continuing to provide PrEP follow-up lab work so that individuals who are on PrEP or who are continuing to try to access PrEP have access to those prevention needs to keep them from, you know, spreading the disease. So that's what's happening in VA.
Okay, Tatiana, there's been a lot of speaking out on tokenization and agencies not doing what they're supposed to be doing for the communities, people applying for funding for us and it not getting to us as, you know, the African American community. It's just been a lot. Could you speak on whatever you can in that and just enlighten us on some of the things that we need to be looking out for and some of the things that
Well, that's a loaded question. But what I will say working for CBO now is that we have to be a little bit more outspoken when we're in those places. I think that it's important when we're working with larger entities, like with you, Tori, at HRC and other folk that are working with larger agencies or entities, to make sure that they understand the needs within our community, right? So when you're going to these places, because now I've gotten to a place where I'm not necessarily worried about the people that these people are funding to do the work for trans folks, specifically Black trans folk. Now I'm more focused on the funders because they are part of the problem and they are part of the system. So we need to have those conversations with them, because speaking to us and we speaking to CBOs, that's not going to get anything done. And what does it look like for us as a community and giving trans-led organizations the opportunity to do the work for their community, right? That's the conversations that we need to have, because a lot of these organizations are saying that we can target this population, but then they're bringing one of us in as a token to do the work, and the work still doesn't get done, or they bring us in and pay us pennies on the dollar. So we still don't get our just due, and a lot of us that are providing work and doing the services need some of these services that we are supposedly be providing to the community. So when you're trying to help someone, and when then you're reflecting within yourself, like, shit, I need the same thing. So I think it's important that we have these conversations on a larger scale and start to have these conversations with our government, our legislators, our commissioners, letting them know what's going on in the community. And then we need to start holding them accountable. So I'm looking at what's going on with George Floyd. You know, after COVID, what's going on with these trans women that's just was murdered, we have to figure out how do we advocate and move in solidarity. We won't, as a community, we won't agree on everything, but there are some things that we have to figure out a way to move in solidarity. You know, what does coalition building look like for us as a community? If I know something that I can teach you to help you, I am human, or anybody that's doing the work, spread that wealth. You know, a lot of us within the community, I think that we sometimes ourselves within the community get so caught up in trying to get ourselves together that we forget that it's bigger than us, you know. So keeping that in mind, and a lot of people, this is what I say, when I walked into the Pride Center, I knew exactly what my goal was. I never walked in there thinking that I was going to stay there forever. I walked in to learn, and that's important, you know. And I say this with all due respect to my sisters and brothers. Like, when we are starting these organizations, sometimes it's important to do your homework and to learn what the work look like, because it's important, you know, before you can really do the work, you have to understand the work. And if you can't understand the work, partner with someone that is going to be able to teach you that, so you would understand how to navigate these systems that people are controlling, right? And it's about building relationships within all of these entities. So it starts with your local government and your state government, and building those relationships, so then you can have those conversations to try and somehow dismantle this so-called system that people are behind. So for me, you know, when I look at tokenism, use it to your advantage, because I don't think it's going anywhere. You know, they check the box for us and say that I got this Black person in here, I got this trans person in there. The box is checked, but what does accountability look like for these organizations or for these entities, and how I apologize. I don't know what just happened. I don't know what just, but how do we hold these people accountable, right? That's important. How do we like hold them accountable if we're being there? And I think if we are moving together as a community and we're standing behind each other, like I told my girls and I tell people within the community, when one person says no, all of us say no. That don't mean if I say no, this is not working, you go to Zakia and say, okay, Zakia, you come do it. Zakia say no. If Tatiana said no, we're not doing it, we're not doing it. So we have to figure out how to move accordingly to make sure that we are sending the message that we won't tolerate this anymore.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted this panel. That's one of the reasons why I called on you. That's one of the reasons why I called on Tori Cooper. That's one of the reasons I just left Atlanta with Mr. Crowder, because I'm learning the work so I can move in the way that's correct, you know, because I don't want to be the sore thumb moving the wrong way. So that's the purpose of the forum. Tori Cooper, you wanted to speak on this subject?
Thank you. And you all, I have to leave a little after 7, so I'll probably talk a little bit more at the beginning. And you all will take it all home. And I trust that you all are going to do great. So I wanted to talk, so outside of my work at HRC, just like you all, I have 85 jobs too. And one of those is I'm the executive director and founder of Advocates for Better Care Atlanta, which is a consulting firm. And so I created, and we do capacity building, all kinds of stuff. But I created a presentation called Leveraging Your Tokenism. And so when you said that, Tatiana, I was chomping at the bit because it is important. We talk about intersectionality when we are separating our or highlighting our trans identity or our Blackness in front of people. What we're doing is we're approaching things and we're intersecting who we are. And so in much of the work that all of you all do, that all of us do, we take a very intersectional approach to the work. That's why we prioritize certain populations. That's intersectional approach. And so leveraging your tokenism means that if you're the only Black person there, then you make sure that they know that you are the only Black person there and why it is so important that you come back and that you bring 15 other Black people with you next time. And if you are the only trans person there, it is important that they know that they need all kinds of trans and gender non-conforming folks to come in after you to continue the conversation. And this is the part, this is something that in my trainings that I make sure to tell people. There are times when you're gonna have to step back so that other people can step forward. And sometimes you have to push them forward. Zakia was a huge help in getting me to use my voice in the work that we do. So I always will owe her a debt of gratitude. But it is important to understand that if, as a Black trans woman, when I'm going in front of places and I'm talking about my Blackness and my transness and my womanhood, and they ask me about a question about trans men, that's where you leverage your tokenism. That's where you say, you know what? Trans men are being impacted by COVID also. So what I think you all should do is next week you bring in somebody else. Because certainly we can talk about those issues, but we can't talk about them in a first person standpoint. And I can't tell, I've never lived in Florida, so I can't tell you exactly what it's like living in Florida. And so part of community is building that unity, that cohesiveness that goes everywhere we go. You don't have to like people to be able to work together with them. And I think in our community, we've conflated the two and confused the two, that you have to like people to work towards the same common goal, and you don't. What we have seen with COVID, and I'm almost done, is that COVID has been a huge equalizer in a lot of cases. There are folks who were middle class in January and in December when they bought all of those Christmas presents. And now, as we're going into the 4th of July weekend, many of them are still waiting on an unemployment check or praying that there will be another extension of unemployment benefits. And so it is equalized a bunch of things. So now, everything that you are, every identity in every community that you represent, it is important that you make sure that people understand that you are there, and there are 150,000 others that are just like you. And when one of us goes in the door, that next week you need to have 7 more, and then the following week you need to have 15 more. And everywhere that we go, we make sure that people understand that. And if they don't have data that represents us, then you make sure that they tell us, because data is money. And a lot of us haven't figured that out yet.
Okay. Mr. Crowder.
Oh, that's the question.
We're speaking on tokenism. We're speaking on things going on within the organizations. And I know, go ahead.
Well, like whenever I talk to people, I always tell the story like when I first started with an organization. Keep in mind, my ideal of an organization was me passing out sandwiches and doing community service. I did not sign up for this. This is what I tell people a lot of times. I did not sign up for this.
Amen.
This has taken, huh?
I said amen.
When you sign up for this, you sacrifice yourself. And I always tell people when I first started, I went around to each organization that was here in Atlanta to introduce myself. And out of 6 organizations,
is everything okay?
You're out. Okay. Out of 6 organizations that I went around to, only one organization took me with open arms and rocked me in the cradle like I was a baby. And to this day, that individual still calls and checks up on me, makes sure that I have things that I need. She supplied me with my first box of test kits when we were not even contracted with the city of Atlanta to do testing, because, you know, she visualized and saw the vision that I had to improve the community. But I most definitely think it's a lot of tokenism that goes around here in the city, which forms it to be political. And sometimes it drives a lot of people away from the work. And I vowed to myself that I would never become one of them people. Because oftentimes when I'm sitting in a room and I'm sitting at conferences and summits, I don't feel as if I belong there. Because at the end of the day, I don't feel as if we're fighting the same fights of, you know, making sure the disparities that are faced in our community have a voice, and that we're catering to the individuals that don't have anywhere to sleep at night, or the individual that's facing mental health issues that doesn't have that relationship with their family because of what they're living through. And a lot of times, like when I'm at these conferences, like I said, I feel out of place because the average person doesn't look like us. The average person doesn't have a home to go to. And a lot of times, we're privileged to have these things, and they're to not be taken granted for. And being here in the city, like, there's tokenism, like I say, and a lot of times it will discourage a person that's trying to run an organization to just back all the way back. But luckily, you have to continue to fight and continue to do what you believe in, regardless of the funding. If a person tells you no, I was told no plenty times. I can count how many times I was told no. And I was told no and looked over for an organization that I know that wasn't doing it. And you just have to keep going despite of anyone telling you no, despite of those that's taking bread out of your mouth to feed your people, as far as your organization, the population that you serve. You just have to keep going because it still exists. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Because even now with COVID, it's a whole opportunity. It's shift from HIV work to COVID work. So it's whatever the new norm is. And it's going to exist, but you have to have those mechanisms to deal with it and the patience to get through it, and just believe that once you do make it, you reach back and pull the next person up. I'm a firm believer in that. I don't mind helping anyone. If I can assist or help, I'm always reaching back, and it's not for pay. I tell people all the time, you don't owe me anything, because he's been very good to me, that I'm able to sit here and amongst you all beautiful people that I know and look at you and see that you're making it despite of whatever past you have or whatever you've been through. You're making that positive change. So I just encourage you and each one to just keep doing the work that you're doing, despite those that kind of take the food out of your mouth to say that they're going to do one thing with the funding and not do it. So I just encourage you to keep going, because someone's going to realize your potential and give you a chance. Someone gave me a chance, and with that one chance, I ran with it. So despite what you believe or how you think it should be, I just encourage you to just keep doing the work that you're doing. Someone's going to recognize it.
I agree.
Would you like to say anything out? Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead, Kay.
Well,
I was kind of giving you the floor.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, to be honest, I'm learning so much from each and every one of you, because currently I'm in an area, I was relocated through my job to Norwalk, Connecticut. There's a very small community here, if not doesn't exist. COVID for us in this area was only about 2,000 cases with 135 deaths. So it was very minimal, but we still were a hot spot. I did work through the pandemic by going in and just doing order fulfillment. So it did slow down a lot. It has slowed down a lot for, retail and for businesses. People are not running out of their homes in certain areas to do, shopping and things like that. So the economy definitely has been hit because of COVID. I'm just taking it one day at a time. The unemployment rate is still rising for a lot of us in the community. And just trying to figure out the next steps, or, what it is that I can do to help, even if in a situation, if I could extend any advice or anything to that nature, or, what can be done, because I'm new to this and I'm learning so much from each and every one of you. So that's all I really want to speak on at the moment.
That's one of the things that I know me and Tatiana have discussed a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And Tatiana, she said, it's gonna come. You don't have to rush, it's gonna come. She said, you just keep doing what you're doing. You pay attention. And just like she said, whether she was talking to me indirectly or directly, well, she talks to me directly anyway. But I know that I need to studied some things, and I know I need to pay attention to current events, and I need to be focused on those things because there's a lot going on. And if you're in the dark, how are you going to help your community? So that's something that I've been paying attention to. That's something that I'm starting to do a lot better on. So like as I go, as she told me, I'm picking up. You know, I'm picking up on the different things that I need to concentrate on.
Well, let me add on to that. And the reason why I say that, because again, had I not worked for CBO, I wouldn't know half the stuff that I know now. And a lot of the stuff that I learned it through larger entities, especially my grant writing skills. I learned that through organizations that wasn't from our community, right? So it's important to me when we speak to capacity building, when we're talking about these skills that we need to be disseminating to our siblings. I didn't get that from my community, you know. So when Marissa made a video a while back, I resonated with that because I didn't get them. My skills came from the cis community. And so for me, I want to make sure that it's important that when we are doing the work, explaining to our siblings what, you know, what a budget look like, how to do projections, all of that stuff that it takes to run a profitable, and, you know, and I don't like to look at nonprofit as profitable, but a well-respected organization, right? And then where you can make yourself to have a well, you know, respected salary that can give you a somewhat of a living. So for me, I've noticed and I've reached out to some of those leaders and I'm like, you know, help me, show me. And they would be like, yeah, and they didn't have anything to give. So for me, I'm like, you know, and you just can't tell me it's anything and I take it. You know, I'm set up from a programmatic standpoint. So when I come to people and ask for something, I need to see a product. And I can hear a lot of talking. I can hear people doing a lot of screaming. I know how to advocate. Advocating wasn't the issue for me. What I need you to do is bring a skill and teach our community members that skill, how to develop a program, what the program model should look like. When you are crafting these grants, what needs to go in it? How do you give them that service delivery? All of that stuff makes the difference. And these are the things that we have to give our community. That's what I was speaking to.
Okay. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Zakia, I know you got to spin. I know you got to spin on this.
Yeah, I had just rose up because like I was listening to Tatiana, and that is so the truth. Like me, when I got into this work, I worked for a nonprofit organization. I worked for an organization that's called Fed Free Now Health Brigade. And I know that there is tokenization, but like I am so glad that my groundwork, my training was done in that agency because they invested in me. They pushed me to be great, but I also wanted to be better and I wanted to be great. And while we pass out, we disseminate that information to people, and I'm glad that some of the girls receive it. But then there are so many girls that don't want to receive the information, that are in their own way and not trying to mobilize to move the movement forward and just complacent with where they are, when at the end of the day, you can be so much more, you can do so much more and make a change for you and for yourself. So while it is important for us to instill in like the babies, the young generation, because they look at us as the elders, leaders, advocates, but it's also for them to do some work too and invest in themselves, because you can't have everybody pour into you and you're not pouring into yourself as well for your well-being.
Absolutely right. Okay, Alejandro.
I wanted to piggyback a little bit off of what Tori said about when you are that token and you bring other people, you let them know that you're the only one and you bring other people in. It's funny because when she said that, I thought about how I had received an email not too long ago from someone who referred me for a grant. And the conversation came about because they had never giving money to a trans man-led organization. So they referred me as the, I guess, their token trans man. So I got in there, I had my interview with the person, and I said, okay, after the end of the interview, I said, oh, by the way, I know a couple of other trans man-led organizations. And she was like, okay, cool, send me the emails. And, she reached out to them. So I really believe that it's very important to recognize you're the token and use that as a power instead of looking at it as something negative. Because I feel like in a lot of cases, I'm the token trans man, even within trans organizations. I'm the only one. But I had to look at it as a power set or a tool to use. Because if I'm in the door, then I kind of like block that, put a little wedge in that door so other guys like me can come through the door. And it took me a while to learn that, because when I lived in Tampa, I wasn't just the only trans man. I was only black trans man. So but once I got over myself, now they have in Tampa, where they had no services for trans men, now they have services for trans men. Because I'm like, hey, I got to go all the way to Atlanta to go to the doctor. This is crazy. Like what's up with that? And at the time, being with someone who worked at an agency, and they recognized this, and now this particular agency has services for trans men. They only had services for trans women at the time, saying that they didn't even knew that there was a need, that we even existed. So you just have to use that as your power.
And that was powerful.
I wanted to piggyback on that. And Alejandro, you brought up a good point. And I think about, y'all need to mute your phones. So
if you're talking in the background, please mute your phone.
I just let him know.
Okay, go ahead, Zakia.
Zakia,
You're
you on
muted.
mute.
We can't hear you.
You're on mute, Zakia.
that's because somebody muted me. Oh my goodness. We
Taylor,
live.
what you over there doing?
Look, this is a live show, so shit is happening. But for many years in Virginia, like I was doing this work, and I'm sure that there were other trans women, but I felt like in these spaces that Fan Free afforded me to be in, the tables that they, placed me at, even though I was like the token Black trans woman, that tokenization, one, a friend of mine named Jackie Adams, who was an amazing advocate from Philly, told me, girl, our voice is powerful, and use your voice to change your life, shape your life, and finance your life. So every time that I had those opportunities to be at those tables, it was for me to overachieve and excel, because the fact that intersectionality, I'm Black, I'm trans, you know what I'm saying? And I'm with these white people. So I'm trying to overachieve so that I can make these relationships, because one thing I can say, when cis white folks live for you and they understand, the oppression of your community, they will leverage things and give you education and access to some things. So I use that, like Alejandro said, as a power tool, because being that token trans woman for all of those years, it gave me so much access to so many people and so much information and knowledge and help, that when I decided to step out on faith and start my own thing, it really put me in a really good position to be able to really make some major change for trans people in Virginia, and specifically in my city. So it's some pros and cons, but like, if you're gonna be tokenized and be paid for being tokenized, and using those moments so that it betters what you're trying to do at the end of the day. Because like Dwayne said, it's not going to go anywhere. You just got to learn how to navigate and play the game. And we're resilient, intelligent people. And a lot of times, just because of our transness, they forget what we have inside of our brains and how intelligent we are. And we can do some amazing things. So if that is your case, if that's your situation or where you are and you're feeling that way, don't feel that way. Turn it around, empower it, and get out of those moments, what you can get out of those moments, so that you have the things in your toolbox for you to be able to excel and achieve.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to give Tori the floor because she's getting ready to have to leave us. I so appreciate you coming on this panel with us tonight, and I just, you have a light in you that I just enjoy. I enjoy your shows. So, just leave us with whatever nuggets you'd like to leave us with tonight.
So real simple. Thank you. It's an honor. I follow all of you, and I respect each and every one of you for the work that you're doing. And I just continue to uplift you all and speak your names with the highest honor. And I believe in the universe, you get what you get. So if you put light out into the world, then you have no choice but to get light back. That's just how the universe works. And to finish up this tokenism piece, especially considering all of the shit that our community is going through right now, if you are a Black trans person in a space and you remain the only Black person in a space, then fuck you. Because you should be bringing other people, am I right, Alex? You should be bringing other people along.
Yep.
You should be bringing other people along. You have a responsibility to your community and to yourself. Take advantage of every opportunity for training and development that is available. White people create, and I like white people. My check is signed by a white person, and it ain't never bounced. But white people created these things called internships. And they created it many, many years ago for their nephews and their sons and daughters and cousins who weren't qualified to do the work, or that other people didn't think they were qualified to do the work. And so in our work, it is essential that when we get in these positions that we bring other people along. If folks say they aren't qualified, then you create an internship for them. A paid internship, so they can come in and learn the skills firsthand. All right. Mm-hmm. Every time you go through a door, you knock that bitch off of its hinges. So nobody else has to bang, no other trans person, no other queer person has to bang their head up to go through that same door. And remember, have goals, set goals, and work towards those goals at all times. You might plan to only stay somewhere for 6 months or 3 years, but the whole time you're there, every single day that you're there, you make sure that folks know that you are the subject matter expert in transness, in Blackness, in Black transness, in folks who live in the South, and all of the other identities that you represent, and all of the other communities that you do. That's what leveraging your tokenism is, because people will hear that word token and they will let it play with their head, or she's a sellout, or he's a sellout, Alex. That's what they'll say. He's a sellout, Dwayne. But when you take that and you use it for your good, which is really what the purpose of that is, when you can turn that around and make something positive come out of it, which you have an obligation to do. When you turn that situation there and you open the door for other people and you get the price that you are worth, so that they know they can't come back and offer the next person peanuts for doing the same thing. If we have a responsibility to ourselves and to our community to make sure that we're doing all of those things everywhere we go. And don't say yes to everything. All money ain't good money.
Amen.
I say that too myself, but I want to add on to that, and as an unapologetic Black woman, I want to say this, and I want to say this while we all are on the phone. I've been working in this community and I watch the way our other counterparts move and how they support one another and how they uplift one another and how they give each other all the tools that they need in order to thrive. And I think we as Black folk on this call, we need to start learning how to do that so we can bring our people up. That's the one thing when I look at the community, when I look at some of these other people working across the country, I see them do that. And I want us to do that. You know, as we keep mentioning, we don't have to always like each other, but we need to understand how we're going to move like them, as they call it, the white folks, the Spanish girls, the Spanish guys, whatever you want to call it. We got to learn that model, because when we learn that model, it's done. We gotta learn that model.
With Tatiana, when you can figure out what the recipe is, you're gonna be a millionaire. Because we like, you know, my thing here is like I have, and Kayla know, because you know that's my wife, and we talk about a lot of stuff.
Oh,
and, yeah. So like. I make a lot of opportunities for trans individuals, and I am always open to, you know, give my information, help write grants, share my knowledge, you know what I'm saying? But my thing is when you give these girls these opportunities and then they get in our way. So how do we, you know, how do we really get them to tie into the work, because the work have to continue after we're gone. Many times I have tried to pull women to, you know, the General Assembly or to EV dinners. I pay for tables and all they had to do was come, and they don't show up. You know what I'm saying? So how do we shift that mindset so that they can get out of their way, so that they can use their voice? You know, like Tori gave me kudos. Tori is a success story for me. But there are so many, you know, that you give these opportunities to, and they get in their own damn way.
mm-hmm.
I agree. And when you work with trans folk, I learned that. You know, I'm like, girl, I'm late. I done laid the table out. All I can do now is do the work for you, because I done laid the table out. I'm like, so what you want me to do? And I had to learn, and I had to get comfortable with that, because what I noticed with me, I was seeing potential, and I wanted something for people that they didn't want for themselves. That's what I had to learn. And I had to accept, like, maybe she or maybe he's not ready. I got comfortable with that, and I went that way. And I had to get comfortable with that. That's the one thing I had to learn working with our community.
You know, everybody has a role to play. And some people, I'm going to use a McDonald's reference here. Some people, their assignment in the work is to flip fries. That's what they're supposed to do. And there's no shame in that. And for other people, their assignment is to be the night manager. And for somebody else is to be the general manager. And for somebody else is to be the regional manager. Just because I think I see something in you doesn't mean that they see it in themselves. And that's a hard thing. Everybody wasn't meant to go with you. Everybody would, because we'd all drive minivans if that would, or buses. And we don't, some of these folks on this call drive two-seaters. For you and one other person. And that's a hard lesson. You learn that lesson. Somebody's going to listen. Somebody's going to hear that. And they're going to think, oh, she being shady. That's not what it is. Everybody has a role to play. And it is important. Zakia, if nobody else on this call know, I know, because I went through the Zakia School of Mentoring, Zakia School for Girls myself. And because of that, I know what she's talking, but everybody doesn't want the same thing. And everyone doesn't have the same goals. And everybody can't see the same thing for themselves. And it's a hard lesson to learn, because, you know, there are times when I know you see this, Dwayne, and I know you, especially the guys and the girl, where you will have someone, you will call in a favor and you will say, you know what, I got somebody. All I need you, just give them a job. I remember there was a time, and I'm about to get off the call, so I won't be too late for my other one, but I remember calling in a favor, and I was like, just hire her. And I told this girl, look, just be at this place, and you're going to have this job. And I got off the train. No, I was getting on the train and she was getting off the train. She was late. She didn't see what I saw. And so sometimes you just have to say, you know what? I wash my hands of it. You good. You good. I'll help you with the fries next time, but I can't put you. All right. So I love you all and I appreciate you all.
I love you too, Tori.
Love you too, Tori.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Tori.
Bye. I want to hear from Queen.
Yes.
I think that's a good decision.
So I have to be very cautious because I'm still employed by an agency. So I'm not here representing them. I'm here representing myself, but I still have to be cautious and tread lightly.
Yes, disclaimer.
I am very aware of tokenism. I've experienced tokenism. I've experienced white guilt. However, I make sure that anytime that I am feeling tokenized, whether it's because I'm trans or because I'm Black or because I'm Black and trans, I make sure that, as Tori said, I keep the door open, I kick it down, I dance around the building, and I make sure that I am unapologetically Black. Always, always. I am never going to be whitewashed. I'm not going to be silenced. I will not, nobody will tell me what I need to say. Nobody will write anything for me, because that's unacceptable. Because if you write it, you should say it. You understand? If you write it, you should say it, because that's what it is. And I always want to encourage and empower other people. But as everyone has said, everybody's not ready. Some of this work is not for, it's really not for the faint at heart, because sometimes this work will make you want to give up. You know, sometimes your community makes you want to give up. You know, some of the girls will make you want to just be like, you know, this is too much, because they come in with expectations that you cannot meet. There is no way humanly possible that you can meet these expectations, because what they don't know is that you're bounded by a grant, you're bounded by so many things. And when you try to explain it, then they become offended and they think that you're trying to hold things back. You're a gatekeeper, you're, you know, your uncle, whatever. And so for tokenism, I used to go to community meetings, and I used to see where there was like one trans woman, and the person that resonates in my mind when it comes to tokenism is my good niece, Chloe Jordan. And she always tells me, she said, that day that you told me that I was tokenized, it woke me up. And she has not stopped. She is a powerhouse, and I have to pour into myself too, because sometimes I get complacent. You know, I get complacent and I doubt myself too many times, more than often. I don't, people see things in me that I don't see. And maybe, I think it comes from maybe a little trauma that I have not acknowledged or dealt with. But so tokenism for me is something that I experience, and I'll keep going through doors. I'll keep opening doors and providing spaces. I'll keep turning over tables. I'll keep calling people out on their shit. I'll keep accountability, especially when I know we're getting funds for whatever that purpose is. Those funds will be allocated for whatever that purpose is, or I will no longer be with it where I'm employed at that time, wherever that might be, because I will not sit back and allow somebody to benefit off something that other people really need.
Amen. I think we've covered pretty much everybody on that particular subject.
Yeah.
What's next? What's next?
We have the new purpose and focus after COVID, if we ever get a vaccine. So the topic is the new purpose and focus after COVID-19.
Well, this is something that Dwayne and myself was discussing a lot this weekend. So, Dwayne, I'm gonna let you take the floor because I know we talked about a lot of that this week.
Well, what would be your purpose and focus?
Exactly.
Natalia? You first.
What would be
I'm
mine?
sure you have. Yeah. What would be your purpose and focus after the COVID, or how would you move forward after COVID with your organization? What would be the new focus?
Honestly, my focus and my purpose is going to stay the same. It's going to, it's going to stay the same as far as trying to reach the community and what they need, the needs of the community, because that's first and foremost what's needed. Some of the things that have changed for me is I'm getting ready to have a location. So therefore, I will have somewhere for them to come. So I can arrange different things. It's difficult, when you don't have a place of your own, and you depend on the Pride Center, or you depend on meeting people here and there. So now that I'm going to have a base foundation for someone to come to, that's going to make things a lot easier. And we'll be testing, we'll be counseling, we'll be focusing on housing, which there's some surprises coming up, in the near future. So it's basically the same. It doesn't change. It just gets more intense because now we're able to, after the pandemic is over, we'll be able to start meeting again. But as of now, what's changed is having to do everything virtually. What's changed is you're worried about if you've reached people that are isolated and going into depression. That's something that is a big worry of mine. That because some people don't get on the computer a lot. Some people don't, join live. Some people just they draw into themselves when things like this happen. There's been a lot of suicides. There's been a lot of overdoses. There's been just been a lot of death in our community as a whole. Not to mention the trans community getting murdered still right through the pandemic. I mean, that just blew me away because you're thinking everybody's supposed to be, home. Everybody's supposed to be locked down, and people are still putting themselves, I'm not going to say putting themselves in harm's way, or things are just still happening. Things are still happening. I kind of got off mentally and was saying something, thinking something else, but it's just pretty much doing the same thing, trying to reach as many people as I can reach, because like I say, it's a little difficult doing it virtually.
Virtually,
you want to get out there and you want to touch those people, and you want to talk to those people, and you want to hug those people that's going through those different changes. So you just do the best that you can with what you have.
How is that working for you, Zakia, with your, because you have an organization, you're up and running. So has it been an impact on you in any way at all, with the people coming in or things like that?
The thing is that the government has no clue as to what's going on. And if you look at CNN, it's the story is always changing. The narrative is changing. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, clean your hands, wash your hands. They don't know what's going on. They're trying to advance, all these tests, vaccines, but at the end of the day, we don't know what it's going to look like after COVID. As far as us as an organization, we're going to continue to, like Natalia said, keep the core components of what we're providing, whether it's virtually, whether it's by appointment, whether it's, one-on-one in the mobile unit. We're preparing and figuring out how to, move back into whatever this new normal is going to be. So, when the mobile units are going out, we've ordered signs now so that we can try to keep people distant 6 feet. I've been thinking about, instead of even letting people onto the unit, we got a screen door. You can kind of stick your finger through the door and get your finger stuck. So just kind of thinking of just ways to navigate, continue to provide the level of service that we provide. But I don't really think that we really can say, you know, where we're going to go after COVID, because we don't know where we're going to be when COVID is over. And
so that leads me to, I want to ask you this before we move forward. Do you think this could be the new HIV/AIDS pandemic where we never get a cure for this?
I'm not going to say that, because coronavirus has been around for a long time. There are different strands of coronavirus, and it's really a flu. That's why it's on the back of a Lysol can kill coronavirus. You know, I honestly, you know, you never know. I never thought it would be a drug that would prevent people who are HIV negative from contracting HIV. So that's why I said that's just really a question that is kind of unanswerable, because we don't know where we're going to be when COVID is over, if it's ever going to be over, or is it going to be like Contagion and we all get it and the whole damn country is gone. So we don't know, but we have to we have to navigate, you know, the best way we can. And so I'm a planner, and you know that, Kayla. I'm like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and if A don't work, then B gotta work. So that's how I am. So like when all this stuff started happening, I started pre-planning. My staff looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm ordering hand sanitizers, this, that, and the third. I'm, you know, trying to figure out the money, making sure that I don't have to let folks go. Those were the things that I was more so concerned about. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that my community get what they need, me advocating to my funders that, you know, I need to do this because people not working, you know, trans people already super underemployed. And so we need to help them with their rents. We need to help with utility bills, light bills, and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's crazy and it's scary, but at the end of the day, we have to do what we have to do, you know, to meet the needs of our sisters and brothers, and, you know, making sure that we stay safe at the same time. So just navigating through it all is just like where I'm at, and just, you know, trying to make sure that as a leader, I make the right decisions that are, one, best for my business, two, best for my employees and for my community. So
thank you.
Don't leave out for yourself. Don't leave that out.
Well, that's it. Well, that's a
given.
We're not even gonna talk about self-care, because I was thinking about that today, and I don't do too much good with self-care for myself because my brain is always going. I'm a constant thinker. But you know, when my folks is good, my people are good, my community is good, and I'm not seeing people struggling, then I'm good.
Alex.
I think through this whole COVID-19, a lot of things has happened that has made me implement new programs that I Am Human that I never thought, you know, that we would ever implement. It just was never a thought. One of the programs that we're implementing is virtual programming, which is a little different from the way Natalia was talking about touching people. And I think that's great. And I agree. But I had a really good friend of mine kill himself because he didn't have access to his mental health provider. So I've partnered with a couple of people here, and we're going to have virtual telehealth, you know, for cases like that. So that's a program that we're implementing now and that we're going to continue going forward. Another one, we normally would go to, like I said, we would just walk the streets and find out where the homeless people live, and we would provide food that way. Well, with COVID-19, you know, like I said, a lot of people reached out to us who weren't necessarily homeless, but they were hungry. So that's another thing that we implemented, where we started a food pantry, and we're providing food for people who, you know, there are a lot of people that work every day 9-to-5 jobs, and can barely, afford to have 3 hot meals a day. So that's another program that we're implementing, and we're starting within the LGBTQ community first, and then we'll branch out, because I'm learning that as much as I want to help everybody, I have to start at home, because nobody else is coming in my house trying to help me. So I got to help, my house. And when I say my house, I mean my community. So a lot of the programming where we were helping, didn't matter, like our motto is, I'm human. If you're human, we're going to help you. But I had to kind of redirect a lot of the programming to start at home first. So that's one of the main things that we're going to do, because even in looking and researching grants, there aren't as many out there for us, So, and I think this pandemic, I have to try to look at the positive side of it, and I think it's taught me to take care of home first, which is my community, and start programming within my organization that I may have never thought of before. So those are the things that we're going to do going forward. 2 of the things that we're going to do going forward. I got a couple of things that we're working on, but I don't want to quite put them in an atmosphere quite yet. But we got some other things we're working on.
Thank you. Tatiana?
Well, I had no choice but to jump right into gear as it relates to like services that we're providing, because a lot of the services that we provide got dollars tied to them. So I had to have those conversations with some of my funders on what that looks like having these advisory meetings, having these group meetings, to make sure that I can still keep people employed, like myself and the people that are working with us. So pretty much, but I have built some, as Ikea said, I have built some amazing relationships in the community. And I haven't disclosed yet, but I'll disclose now since we're on this call, because I haven't really told anyone. So when you see it again, just know I'm doing it here, but I'll do it again. So now we do have a drop-in center, and we had this prior to COVID. So when COVID happened, I put everything on pause and I just stopped. So everything is set up. So I'm moving stuff in there now and getting it ready, and then I'll do the Facebook stuff and all that good stuff. So I kind of paused it, and but yeah, so now I'm announcing it. And next door to that, we also have a organization that has a food pantry. So it's like everything kind of aligned. In addition to that, one of the organizations is moving a pharmacy right next door to the drop-in center. So it just seems like it was divine, and everything just fell into place. So I'm very excited about what that looks like for the community. But I mean, yeah, we jumped into the virtual meetings. I don't know how to run it. I let them do that. I'm not really computer savvy. So I hope I don't get in a position and something happens to somebody. I'm like, ooh, I got to figure it out. But we doing the virtual thing. And yeah, we just working it out. But I still do HIV testing. We do in-home testing. We're doing everything that we can. We're not implementing anything new. It's just like figuring out what that looks like. And what I can honestly say is that the funders have been very receptive to that reallocating of funds and helping with the organizations. I'm surprised of the help that we've been getting. It's like it hasn't been any pushback, as of now. So it's working. I'm hoping that somehow we overcome what's going on, and we may not, and this may be our new normal. But I mean, my purpose won't change. I'll continue to do the work, and the next thing that we will be working on, once we get something situated, because I like to take my time and move into stuff and get that where it needs to be, because as we were speaking about the skills for our community and trying to build whatever that looks like as job readiness is concerned, when it comes to resume building and getting our guys and girls ready for success. That's my goal. And then eventually I'll work on something housing related, but now we're just referring people to places. I have links for all of that stuff. And we do some hotel, some days if someone gets into an emergency. And the thing, and when we were speaking, when Zakia was speaking about self-care, So in my regular job, I took off a day because I'm like, I just need, it's too much going on. But still TIG, the phone is ringing, and I'm like, well, how do I escape from this? And it's just, I'm just like, want to make sure that my people are okay, and that's when I'm okay. So if I know that it's something wrong with someone else, I'm not going to rest until I can get them whatever that is they need. And I have to figure out that balance myself. I have to figure out that balance, what that looks like for me, because I don't turn off. It's just like I don't turn off. And like her, I'm home, and even on the weekend, like right now, I'm like, oh, I got to get this budget done. Oh, I got to put this in because this due on the 18th and this due on the 19th. So I'm never like, it's like I can't shut down. And I'm like, other than that, but I'm fortunate enough and thankful enough that the organization is thriving. And as I told you, Natalia, it's gonna come. It's nothing I asked for, did the work. And when you do it organically, when you are rooted to the work and it's genuine, the funders will see it, and you don't have to, it'll come. It'll come. You don't have to do nothing but just do what you do. It'll come. So, and that's where we are.
You said a word then because it's coming. You said a word then because it is coming.
Natalia, go ahead. Can I say something? I can't sit here and be silent. I work for Positive Impact Health Centers. We have not closed. So if you know of anybody who needs services, especially mental health, we're doing mental health, we're doing telehealth, we're mailing condoms, we're doing at-home testing. Because I don't want anybody, regardless to how we feel personally, we would be doing a disservice to our community to not provide the services. And if they come and they're not getting the service, please have them to contact me. I am adamant, and my CEO, COO, they know accountability is what I'm good at. I will hold them accountable. Somebody will do what's required, that the services that we're providing. We will not tolerate, they can't come with their bull, but if it's a service that they need, we've not closed our doors at all. We've been open through the whole COVID, and it would negate me not to say that, because like you said, somebody killed, yeah, we had services during the whole time. We're still open.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Crowder, last but not least.
It's back to me already. As far as our focus, like best practices are always the focus as far as myself and my staff and the clients that we serve in the community. So I'm updating protocol daily in accordance of how we engage with our clients and the way that they are in a sense of mind when they come in for services. So we're continually to update protocol and how we engage with the clients daily. And I don't think that it's ever going to stop, because there's always something that can be changed, because we're dealing with something that we have never seen before. So each day is an update on something that we're going to change. As far as what I am gearing towards focusing, primarily my organization, as our first grant years ago, we were funded through Fulton to only serve Black MSM primarily. However, our focus has been going on into next month, the 1st of July. We will be opening our first trans housing. So I'm excited about that.
And Unspoken Treasure will be partnering with them.
I'm excited about it, but at the same time, I am scared boots. So I'm excited about that. So we're going to be tackling trans housing. I see there's a need for it. I even tried it in our MSM housing, and the MSM coexists with the trans fine. So I didn't see a need to have them separated, but we're going to have our first trans house, safe haven, and it will open the 1st of July. I'm excited about it. I've been doing a lot through the pandemic. We haven't stopped working, and we haven't stopped working. And, we took 2 weeks off because it was enforced by the governor. But after the 2 weeks, we went right back to work. I'm not the type that can sit in the house and do nothing. I don't work well from home. It's like engaging with those individuals, seeing their faces, providing the service that we're funded to provide. I don't get a kick out for just sitting at home and collecting a free check. I would love to do it, but it's just the enthusiasm and the power and well-being to be able to engage with individuals. We do offer some telehealth services, but I'm just ready for things to get back to normal. I know it'll be a while, but I have been zoomed out. I'm telehealth out. But just being able to see someone come through the door has been good or whatever. And we're facing something that we have never done before, which is COVID testing. We're doing that, and we're taking it's a big challenge, but it's a need for it. You have individuals that cannot make it to those COVID testing sites, that don't have transportation, or those hours that they work that normal 9 to 5 that's just doesn't fit in the average person's schedule. So this is something new that we're tackling. So we're focusing on new innovative ways to engage with the community, and at the same time providing them with the services that they need, and that we're being paid to do so. So I guess I look forward to working with each and every one of you. I don't think it's any unfamiliar faces. So, hey, I think that's it. And my encouragement is just to, just do best practices. Make sure that you're washing your hands, proper hygiene, PPE. And if you don't have PPE, reach out to me. Maybe it's something that I can do to help and assist. There are some assistance programs that are sending out free PPE and face shields. So some of the EDs that don't know about that particular agency or resource, I will shoot it in your inboxes.
Dwayne, so you looking forward to working with each and every one of us?
Not each and every one of you, just the new clients.
I see we have about 30 people on the live. If anybody has any questions or concerns, I'm gonna stroll back down because I know there was some things said that maybe we can answer. Okay, we have Stacy Jackson. She's saying not only looked over, but gotta be in a clique or have the same opinion as they have. And when they don't, they become problematic. Then you have those who just don't know who may want to, but because they don't fit the it crowd or have that look, they don't want to be bothered. Hey, anybody want to excel on that?
I want to try and follow the question. So I'm thinking that she may be talking about the work that we're doing in community as it relates to the groups and the people that we are tied to, and how we're bringing other people into our fold. Is that what the question is geared around? Yeah, I agree. It is some of that, but I just think that in that process, you have to just do the work. And as I mentioned earlier, when you do it organically and you do it genuinely, it's not about going to the cliques, because there's a government and there's community out there that need the work. And I think if you do the work, that stuff will eventually come to you. That would be my advice. Do the work, and then tie yourself with organizations. We'll never probably be on the same page with some of the organizations, even some of the LGBTQ organizations. However, but if you can align with someone that's doing similar work and probably build upon what your work looked like, you don't have to worry about a clique. That saying, create your own table. Just create your own table, or what it is that you see for your community or that you want to see. Because all of us that are on here that have our organizations, it wasn't about getting us into either one of them cliques. It's like, I don't like what's going on, and I'm going to do something about it. And the way that I'm going to do something about it is I'm going to formulate my own stuff. And that's what we did, and we stepped out on faith. So that would be my advice to that individual. Don't worry about the clique. Do what you feel that's in your heart, what's in your power, and that that needs to happen within community, and move from that. Because when it comes to forming an organization or being a group, whatever that is, the clique can't stop you. You are the only one that's going to be able to stop yourself, because they can't stop the entity. You are in control of that.
Amen.
That would
Tatiana,
be my 2 cents.
I also want to add something to what you said, because you said something that kind of plucked me, and I don't like for folks to speak negativity into existence. So you can be as big as any organization. You can be as big as anything that you want to be. So don't, like, because you were saying that and that you said that, and I was like, no, ma'am, because I thought that, you know, I would never, you know, be able to build or do or step out on faith and do something. And I did. And I created something that was amazing, that's shaping lives. And I was thinking, man, I'll be glad when I get up there with so and so and so. But to be an organization in the state of Virginia that ranked #1 for our HIV testing numbers, and we're the youngest CBO funded by, you know, VDH, it's nothing that you can't do without God. So you can be that as big as that LGBTQ. You can be as big as HRC. Believe it, dream it, achieve it.
This is when you were reading that comment, it occurred to me that sometimes it's like it's like you're in a relationship. So if you go to interview for an organization and you feel as if and though there's a clique, make sure you interview your best so you can get in, and then you can be that ninja. You can go in as a silent assassin and change things around. Maybe they don't share your same point of view. Maybe they don't know exactly what's going on in the community. But once you get in there, then you can be that voice, you know, and you never stop. You just keep driving at it and driving at it. And you just have to make yourself marketable. You know, you have to market yourself. Anywhere I go, I'm always marketing myself, you know, for my next opportunity. And if you're sitting, before I got involved, because I come from hotel, motel, retail management, I never did nonprofit. But once I got the opportunity, I interviewed the person that interviewed me, said, you nailed it, you know, because I wanted in. But once I got in, I became, everything didn't align. Their views didn't align with mine, or how I was living, or what I what I saw for the community. You understand? But once I got in, I started started advocating for the community. And some people, one thing I do know, you're never going to please everybody. That is not going to happen. But change is always uncomfortable. It's never comfortable. You never really ease into change, and everybody's going to be on board with you. And then some things you just can't take personal. You know, some things you just have to believe that it's just bigger than you, and chalk it up and leave it there. You know, I would say be like a ninja. Get in and you know, start tearing down what you see is not working. Start being the voice for the community that you see that's being underserved. Or go in and if you see something that's not working, build your own agency. Turn over some tables. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Does anybody else want to piggyback into that on that subject, or should we go on to the next question? Okay, the next question is coming from Shamir Demore. She said, from talking to girls here in South Florida, they don't want to attend things because there is an issue with trust. And trust is something that comes within time. If you aren't connected with someone, they are going to look the other way. Now, I want to speak on that a little bit. When I started my journey of activism, I heard some of the most negative, some of the most awful things, and I would call Kayla, I would call Tatiana, I would call Queen, and I would be so hurt. You know, it's a scam. She's trying to get $1. And I had to be frank. Let me break it down for you. I have a full-time job. I go to work 40 plus hours a week. I have great benefits. Then I do my organization. Then I'm running my own business. Honey, the advocacy comes from a passion that's deep within. I don't have time. If it was a scam, this wouldn't work for me, baby. It wouldn't work for me because I don't have time to be waiting on no grant. I don't have time to be applying and filling out all these essays. If I want to commit a scam, I am the queen bee, honey, from back in the day. So if you don't know me, Google me. A scam, honey, this wouldn't be the field to enter talking about a scam. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. This is a passion. And the reason I meet so many people, the reason that light, Trina just said that too. Trina just said, when you have a light in you that shines, I connect to these people because of that light and because of that passion. So see, I no longer call y'all. Y'all notice that? I don't call y'all anymore, worried about what nobody said. Because that's no longer my business. I'm not even worried about what other people say. Because I know what I have going on. And I know the foundation that God has laid for me. So I don't have to worry about that. But I'm sure some of you can piggyback and touch bases on this one.
Yeah, can I say
I
something?
go first.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you can go.
Go ahead, Alex.
It's funny that you say that because a few weeks back, I don't know if you guys noticed when we were on Facebook and we were just giving away money to, different people who were doing stuff in the community. And we were doing, we had a little trivia when we announced a new website. So we were giving away money for people. And I mean, we're giving away money, my inbox going off, giving away money, my phone going off. And people are saying, Alex must be stunting, or Alex must be, how is Alex giving away all this money? And it's funny because when you do something positive and people can't figure out how you can be doing something so positive, they're gonna throw that negative spin on it, or at least try to throw that negative spin on it. And it bothered me at first, but then I thought about it. For every one person who thinks I'm doing something illegal to give money back to the community, there are 500 people that know that I've been at my job 15 years, that I work 50, 55 hours a week, so you can't worry about that one. You know what I mean? You just got to keep, because if you worried about that one, you'd quit. And you would give them exactly what they want, because they don't want to see you being successful and you being the one, pouring back into the community. Because they're not doing it. Because, they want to go buy a new pair of shoes. They can't figure out how Alex can buy a new pair of shoes and give away $2,500 in one day. Did you see what I'm saying? They don't know Alex's background. They don't know, the money Alex having. They don't know anything about me. They just see what they see on Facebook. So I can't worry about the person that don't know me. I have to worry and focus on the people that do know me. Because if you don't, these people will drive you crazy.
Amen.
Dwayne.
I can just piggyback off of what Alex said without Natalia's introduction. But I think
the queen bee.
But I think what used to bother me was the fact that individuals would say like, oh, they're starting a new nonprofit. That's the new get rich scam. But a lot of people don't realize that you invest not only yourself, your time, but financially into these nonprofits that you're starting. The startup is not done with a grant. You have to actually get out there and do the work to be noticed. And a lot of times that you're doing the work, it's coming out of your pocket. The old, let's have a fundraiser and raise $25,000. All that stuff is out the window. I'm having fundraising. I'm raising $15,000, $15 compared to the $1,500 that I put into the fundraiser. And they don't realize, a lot of grants that we are receiving are reimbursement grants. That means that you have to have money in order to pay your staff, pay the expenditures, pay the rent on your building and show the documentations to be reimbursed for these grants. So, it used to bother me that people would say, oh, they're misappropriating funds, but those days are over. You're gonna have to get out there and work for this, thrive for it in order to have it and be able to deliver those deliverables that they want to see, or you don't get a check. So this is a regular job. So, stop beating down your community leaders by saying, oh, they're misappropriating funds just because, they may drive a new car or live it a certain way, but anyone can get anything. Keeping it is a total different thing or whatever. And I used to beat myself up about, the things that I purchased or whatever. I've driven the same car for 6 years just because I didn't want anyone saying, oh, he got a new car, he must use the company money for it or whatever. But you have to kind of get out of that mind frame of thinking that way, because people are going to say what they want to say, but the numbers show different. So if you're out there doing the work and you're doing what's outlined in your evaluation reports, you're doing the right thing. So, each executive on this call, you're paid a salary. You can't just take the entire grant and just transfer it over to your account, whatever. That's wire fraud. Who would do that? But at the end of the day, stop beating down your community leaders and uplift them for the work that they are doing in the community, because this is a headache. It's a headache. But you have to have a passion for it to be able to come home to the headache. I don't have a relationship because of this, because I don't have time for nobody, because I'm dedicated to this. So like I said, just uplift your community leaders. If it's something that you need, reach out to me. If I can help you obtain what you're trying to get, I don't mind. Whatever, but you have to show me the same type of enthusiasm as I am waking up every morning to provide whatever service that I'm getting up to provide to someone. Because each and every morning, I'm not waking up for myself. I'm waking up to provide a service to someone. So you have to be cautious of the things that you say if you are one of those individuals that are looking for services. Because everyone in this call is familiar with one another. We're not clicked up. So if you was to call each individual and you needed a service, I'm sure you would be provided that service or directed towards a resource that can provide the service for you. So uplift your community members and stop beating them down. That's all I can say.
I wanna add to all of that, because I want to go back to Shamiria saying about our communities. It's important that we understand what building trust and relationships look like for our community, right? Because a lot of these organizations have tokenized and treated our community wrong for so long. So even when you have people like us that are trying to bring community in, sometimes they look like, oh girl, now they got you and now they bringing you, now you in trying to get something from me. And they do look at us like that. So what I try to do is just put the service in place. And when he or she is ready to receive that service, that it's there for them, because sometimes everything you do, they're going to always have something to say, but it just goes back to how we view things as a community and as some of our Black folk, how that oppression is setting in. So when you come and they always thinking you doing the scam or you doing something, it's not even trusting and believing in us trying to bring each other. So it's a lot of that work that needs to be done. I too are one of them, the other co-founder recently got a card. This man worked real job, make good money, shit, make more than me. And they like, oh, she gave him money to get this car. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, what is these people? And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, but I'm sitting in organizations and you're looking at CEOs, making six-figure salaries, making $120,000 a year. But when we as Black-led organizations, when we create a salary, you looking at us like we still, and baby, the white man, this is what he's doing, this is what he's making. So why is it an issue when we as Black executive directors, if we are making a decent salary, it's a problem? And I think that's where that oppression and not understanding, we work hard. It's a lot. Nobody sees when we sitting up 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, wig off, and you sitting there like, oh, I got to get this right. Nobody see all the hard work that goes into it. And you, as Tatiana said, and I resonated with, you know, you sitting up to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning working on shit and then got to be right back up at 9. They don't see that.
Right.
They don't see none of that. All they see is what he done got or what she done got. Child, miss me with that. We just have to figure out how we build those relationships and work, and we have to, you know, understand that we all in this together. And I don't, the people on this call, I don't think anyone is here trying to use our community. We have to trust in our community. And this is why we're here. We're trying to bring each other up. Anything that I do that's having a trans person or anybody, I'm going to find you $1. If it's 50, I tell people, don't ask my community members to do nothing. If you ain't got nothing from, find them a quarter, $1, some gas money, some food money, some something. Don't come to me. And anytime I ask you to do something or come into something, you best know it's $1 tied to it. I don't apply for no money unless I'm able to give something to my community members because I know these people need it. So, you know, it's just building that trust. And once you build that trust with them, I found it to be better, but you just have to build that trust. And it's just, you know, it may take a little bit. It does. And we get frustrated, you know, because sometimes they think when they're coming to our group meetings or when they're coming to places, it's almost like they act as if they doing you a favor. And I'm like, no, baby, you're not doing me a favor. Because if you show up, then I can show them why we need housing, why we need XYZ that you keep telling me about. So if you don't show up, they don't think it's a need because mama gonna be all right. So I'm just trying to make sure that I can, you know, show the people that there's a need, and that's the piece that community miss. And that's where it comes to like them getting to understand. And I try to cultivate that, try to work with them to understand that, like, it's up to you, you know, how you all want to show up. And community has to understand that, but I understand where it comes from.
And what I was just saying, I wanted to be clear, and I want everybody to understand. I wasn't bragging about no past, because let me tell you something. When you have to pay for things that you do that's illegal and not in order. You have to pay for those things. And baby, my karma dealt with me accordingly. Do you understand me? It dealt with me accordingly. So now when I handle my business, I make sure it's decent and in order. And a lot of people don't know Zakia saved my life. Zakia saved my life, because I called Zakia one night and I said, Zakia, I said, I love this word. This is my passion. But girl, I'm broke. I am broke. I have charged all my credit cards up. Baby, because I was up under the impression that's what I was supposed to do. As Zakia say, do y'all take donations? Do you realize I had done no fundraisers? I had took one donation. I had any of that.
The fundraisers don't work.
That's not true. That's not true. That is not true.
What?
Okay.
Dwayne said fundraisers
don't work. Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, the type of fundraisers that she was having, the target population that she was targeting.
Oh.
That's not gonna work.
But what I'm saying, no. But everything that I started doing after that fact, it did help.
Yeah.
It did help. It helped a lot. I mean,
But I know
was able to do. Yeah,
I know this past week has taught you a lot, because she was with me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. By Thursday, I said, bitch, are you sure this is what you want? Are you sure you want all these problems? Because those phones did not stop ringing, and even in the middle of a pandemic, they were still walking. And I said, where are y'all coming from? If y'all been quarantined, how have y'all been having this much sex? But you know, it's work that we put in, and you know, a lot of people don't see what we do behind the scenes or whatever. So my head just goes out to each and every one of you that are actually out there doing the work and doing what you're supposed to be doing, or doing what you're saying that you're doing, because it's not an easy job. You know, we give up a lot. We give up the attributes of being able to come home at 5 o'clock and enjoy the rest of our evening. I don't know what that looks like anymore. So, you know, we give up a lot, and to be chastised about it, you know, it's really disheartening for our own community to kind of beat us down like that. because we're individuals of a certain type of past, and to bring that into existence and what we're trying to do now, that's very disheartening. So my hat goes off to each and every one of you.
What this is an I statement. When I first started, I was still attending community events, and I thought people were going to be happy for me and excited and elated. They saw a car. They saw. That's all they saw. They didn't see, like y'all say, they didn't see the sleepless nights. They didn't see me beating the pavement, literally on foot, on martyr, going to find people to come out to get these services. They didn't see all the hard work that I put in. So what I had to do, intentionally, I had to stop attending those events, because each time I would attend an event, it would be something that would be said that I would take home, and I couldn't unpack it. You understand me? I didn't leave it there. I would bring it home. And it made me feel kind of guilty. So I stopped attending community events, all of them. I come to some of them. I pick and choose I want to attend. You understand me? And I intentionally, and I hope this doesn't stop, but I intentionally show up and show out, because I want you to know that this is possible for you as well. You understand? This is possible. This is what hard work looks like. Not really. So the work is not really hard for me. I have to say, it gets to be a bit much sometimes. It gets to be restless, but it's not really hard work. It is being creative and critiquing your own work and being available, Yeah, so sometimes you don't get rest. So I had to stop. There was the thing that made me stop doing all of this stuff is because I was like, if my friends, if their financial status is no higher than mine, then what do I have to aspire to? So I started hanging out with other people so I could learn other things, adding skills so I can increase my finance, regardless to how the people on the outside was seeing it. I know what I know. Dwayne, you just said something. My marriage is suffered because I can't sleep at night, because I have people calling me. This phone never stops. Clients are still calling. And I don't ignore them. I can't do it. I cannot ignore them. I have to at least shoot them a text or something. I cannot just lay there and have somebody to text me in need, or sometimes they just want to talk. I've gotten out of my bed several times and just sit there and literally be sleeping, listening to this person. And sometimes I'm not even fully aware of what they're saying. I have a note. I keep a notepad, so if I come in here in my office, I can jot down things that I heard them say, because I'm not fully aware of what, I just got up.
So to me, it sounds like y'all need to set some boundaries. Which is important. And I want to remember boundaries, because I'm gonna come back to that. But I want to also go back to they're gonna always say something. I've been doing this work 26 years. And, I let them tell it I was fired from the health department when I worked there. Let them tell it I disseminate information that I shouldn't be disseminating. It's been so many different rumors, you know what I'm saying? And so I never let any of that narrative take space in my head, because I know what I'm doing. You can see the proof in the pudding of the work that I do. And at the end of the day, we are nonprofits that are deemed a nonprofit by the U.S. federal government. And if you don't think that they sit and do audits and check the books and all that other kind of stuff, then y'all sadly mistaken. And I always encourage folks to stop listening to what the people say in community, and stop judging a book by its cover. Open it up and read it and do your own research. Because if you continue to just go with what the naysayers are saying, you might miss out on the opportunity that's going to bless you or make you move into a different direction, transcend you to a different place. And then boundaries, we need to go back to boundaries. Like, turn that phone off. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that was one thing. Like, when I worked at Fan Free, I started a clinic that was specifically doing hormone replacement therapy for trans individuals, as long as they stayed engaged in testing and all that kind of stuff. So one particular day, the clinic was closed. And so because a lot of the girls was my sisters and my friends and stuff, girl, they're gonna come knock on my door at home, tell me something, can I get my shot? And I was like, heck no, this ain't it. You understand what I'm saying? So like I'm a big advocate for my staff that at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock when we close, turn that phone off because you need your time. And we are here for service of our clients, but we also need that moment, even if you're not taking self-care, you need that moment to kick back, have your wine, your blunt, your whatever it is we being real, whatever it is that you need to do so that you can digress, recharge yourself, and then come back. I turn that phone off, turn it off, because you can't text me at 11 o'clock at night and want me to talk to you till 2 in the morning and then expect me to be up at 10 and be coherent and handling your needs. That can't happen. So y'all need to set some boundaries. Queens, boundaries. Dwayne, shut that phone off when it's time to go home. Shut it off, because if not, you're going to deprive yourself from living and doing and being and maybe finding. How you think I found my wife up there with that bald head looking sexy? But no, seriously, you gotta set boundaries. You gotta turn that phone off. Turn it off, because
it's that other call.
But then you need to have 2 phones, and I'll tell you about 2 phones. My sister talking about. So you need 2 phones so you can get that.
You do.
I don't do well with 2 phones.
You need your personal line and your business line.
Oh, get a Google Voice. That way you don't have 2 bills. Get a Google. Yeah, I've learned that. Get a Google Voice number. That way you can have that as your bit for the clients, and then use your phone for the regular thing. A Google Voice. That you are right. We do have to set boundaries, and because also that giving out your personal phone number could come back to haunt you. Because I've had clients to send me inappropriate pictures because they misinterpret that me being of service is me wanting them or my desire for them, and that doesn't work.
And if you empty, who can you help? If you burnt out and empty, who can you help? So you have to set a boundary and take some time to recharge. Even just take some time to recharge. You have to.
You're right.
Okay, we have another statement from Miss Jackson. I feel the vision of the trans community in this hour is to raise our voices on a national level against the violence, transphobia, religious bigotry, and so much more. National Coalition for Black Trans Individuals is needed in the time to come.
I think that's a Tatiana question. That sounds like a universe question.
That's exactly what I thought. That's what I thought.
Oh my God.
Well, what I can say is that it's happening. And I know that, I've been in a lot of conversations in the back room about a national coalition. And I think we're just trying to formulate what that's going to look like and who the parties are going to be involved. But I'm more than sure it's going to be people from each region. So that is happening. And the beautiful part about that is that we have a lot of entities that have been leveraging funding it to help the trans community do that said work. There's some things that it's like we got a lot on our plate, a lot of us. And the one thing that I want to do, and why I tell people why I started doing this work, it was more about using my platform to advance us as a community. And, me working in South Florida, having tie-ins with Equality Florida and other places that I work with, I want to be able to mobilize us in South Florida, and then we can connect with those other regions in order to build on what we're doing. But that stuff is in talk. That is in talk with a lot of community leaders that behind the scenes. So it is happening. It's just that we're finally getting into a place to where funders are starting to respect our work, pour back into our work. So now we're getting the resources for we can do said work. So it's definitely in conversation.
Amen. Anybody else want to speak on it?
I just want to say that I think that people think that because they don't see you outside marching that you're not doing the work. I'm not a marcher. I'm not a protester. My safety comes first. That's just my thought pattern. However, there's other work. Just because you don't see me out there, there's other things that people are doing. So I hate when people send out things that they don't think that you only do the work when you're paid. That's not factual. you. That is not factual. Just because you don't see me marching and protesting or anybody else marching and protesting, that doesn't mean that they're not doing the work. There's other work that needs to be done besides marching. There's policies, there's laws that we need to implement. There's things, you know, we need to find candidates and hold them accountable for what their platform is when they're running. That's all in the work.
Voting is key. And I have definitely been pushing that and definitely been advertising that. We need to use our voices at those polls because what
and that's at all polls, not just the presidential election.
So voting,
yes,
all,
the primaries,
all polls.
both. Mm-hmm.
Voting
all
is
polls are important.
People accountable. Once we vote, then we stop. These people get in office and they did nothing that they say that they were going to do on their platform, on their campaign. We need to hold them accountable for what they're doing in their campaign. Once they get in this office, remember you say X, Y, and Z. What is going on? We need to hold them accountable.
I agree.
And complete your sentences. That's important. That's gonna get your resources. No, that's important that we know. That's what when it goes back to educating our community, they have to know these things and understand, you know, what they need to do. You know, they get, you know, we got to do more than just get bundles and stuff. All that other stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, and be real. Just because we advocates and we advocate, that don't mean we not human. That don't mean we don't be with the shit. That don't mean we don't gossip and we know what's going on. We are human. We have to vent somehow. We have to. You know, we real people. So, you know, respectful.
I love you. I'll get burned.
Okay, our last question was, how is the new virtual world making an impact on our communities? Did we cover that?
We kind of showed
about
that.
that.
Did we tie that? We tied that in for the, okay, so we finished with those. So we can start, you know, rounding it up and making our ending speeches or, you know, however we want to leave.
Closings.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start? Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you for allowing me to be the token on this. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's funny that, well, I can only speak for me, but I felt like I'm just this one little person, so, you know, nobody's gonna hear my voice. You know, my voice is not gonna be loud enough to make an impact. But I want to, while I'm on this call, thank Tatiana, because I didn't even realize that I Am Human could even be a nonprofit. I didn't even look at it that way. I looked at it as, you know, it was something that, you know, that my brother in Philadelphia founded, and then I started the, you know, on the t-shirt side, and then I started the foundation on my side. But I was so comfortable in spending my own money that I didn't even realize that this was something that other people saw something in that I didn't see, and other people would help, you know, fund it. So I want to thank her for that. I'm sorry, somebody's trying to FaceTime me. Let me decline it. And then also Zakia, because when I first started, I didn't know where to start. And between the two of them, I don't know who I text more. So I just want to thank people, because we so often take people for granted. And because I had personal relationships with them, that you know, they're going to help me just because, you know, of the relationships that we have. And you know, you can't take advantage of that. You have to let them know that they're valued. And so I just wanted to thank both of them for that, because I wouldn't be as far as I am with it now if it wasn't for the two of them. So I just wanted to thank you both. And I'll send you flowers one day, you know, later, but I just want to give you your flowers while you can still hear them. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Zakia.
I just want to, I guess my message is like to the community. And it is that, you know, we are working hard for y'all. We are getting up every day and we are wrecking our brains to write grants to, because we hear your voice and we hear what you need. These things can't continue if you are not present and fully engaged and honoring your commitment to the programs that we provide. And with these services that we're offering, use it as an opportunity, as a leg up. Use it as an opportunity to transcend to a different place and not as an opportunity to continue to use the system, because then you're going to end up being in the same place. So get out of your way, dream the impossible, think bigger than where you are, and put in the work. Do what it is that you're trying to do so that we can all be in a better place, so that we can all have economic, social, and political power, so that we can thrive in our beautiful Black and brown skin.
Thank you, Zakia. Queen Hatcher.
I just want to say, I would encourage the community to stop calling the leaders out and call us in. Sometimes if you call us in and let us know some of our indiscretions, some things we may have looked over, you know, and stop poisoning the pot by spreading rumors and untruths. Because what that looks like, I think if we unify, we don't have to agree. We just need to unify. We just need to build a platform of unity and present that authentic. That way that the table is big enough for everybody to eat who wants to eat. The only people that won't eat is those who want to be hungry. You know, and we and if you want to be hungry, then play your part. If you're hired for a part, play your part. Stop playing other people's part, but stop poisoning the pot by saying discouraging things to people. We don't always get it right. We're human. We're first and foremost, we are human above all. So we don't always get it right. We can have a discussion about the things that we didn't get right. We can discuss that. And maybe there's some things that you're not aware of that we're governed by, that we can give you more insight on. So stop calling people out and call us in. Embrace each other. Let's build a platform of unity, regardless to how that might look. I might not agree with everything or everyone, but I do agree that we all are Black. You understand? And we all have different life experiences, however that might look.
Dwayne.
With my closing words, I want to let Zakia know that, you know, I'm going to work on the boundaries, because you know, I kind of do struggle with those. Because with a new organization, you're always trying to prove a point. And I think that's where that struggle comes at. You're always trying to prove availability. So that's something I even told Natalia that I'm going to have to push away. And within the next couple months, you know, I'm going to be able to take some time off for myself and on me. But with my trans community, I want you all to know that I do see you. You are thriving. I do see you, and that there are services that are in alignment that I'm going to be able to provide for you all, not because of financial gain, but because I have a sibling that's trans. So I can identify with that. And it's not because of something that's going to bring profit into my pockets. And to the community, I want you to know that, you know, COVID is real. You know, it's something that we're dealing with, and it's something that we're going to get past. But you have to practice, you know, your best practices and safety precautions. And to Natalia, I want to thank you for inviting me to the roundtable as a young Black MSM, to be able to have a voice in the conversation around trans or whatever. Because just because I'm Black MSM doesn't mean that I don't identify with what you all go through on a daily struggle. I see it, I hear it, I feel it. So my heart goes out to each and every one of you. And like I said before, I look forward to working with you. Like, this is nothing that's new to me. Just because I don't necessarily dress up in hair doesn't mean that I don't identify with you, you know.
We
Whatever.
know.
But if anyone needs me, you can reach out to me. I'll place my information in the comment section. So for whatever grants or any type of resources that you may have a need for, I'm here for you. And we can all work together and build together. Because just keep in mind, if we're all working together, they're not going to tell each and every one of us no.
You're not young, Dwayne. You're not
Tatiana.
I want to thank you for that, Alex. I try to give what was given to me. I want to follow up everything that Zakia and Queen said, like they kind of closed it out for me. So I just want to piggyback on the back of that. Community, we have to figure out what trust look like for us. We do this for each other. We're not doing this for our own selves. We do this for you. And, you know, sometimes it does make, because we're human. And sometimes we do, you know, when we take that, it kind of like impacts sometimes how we're feeling. But at the same time, I want community members to also understand what involvement look like, as Ikea said, because if it's something that we're not doing and you feel that needs to be done better, or you want to see more, it's okay for you to come and say, hey, I'm willing to volunteer and do XYZ. You know, instead of sitting back, as Queen say, pulling us apart, why don't you say, I want to lend a hand and I want to help do XYZ? You're opposed to saying you're not doing this, instead of pointing the finger, just come in and try and help us do what we're trying to do. Because at the end of the day, it's about visibility. As Tori said earlier, that, you know, numbers, data, all that speaks to dollars. You know, if you want to see more and you want more for your community, you showing up, helping us do the work, that in return will help us get the services and resources that you all saying that you want from the community. So yeah, that's it for me. And thank you for having me, Natalia. This is great. I enjoyed. We have another call, 2:00 tomorrow. It's going to be myself, Sean Coleman, which let me give shout outs to Sean. I have to give shout outs to Sean because and he's a black trans man that was funded through Destination Tomorrow, intentional work about the Black community. Like, I can't even explain it, just know it's intentional work. So I have to give that shout out, and he'll be on the call. Myself, Hope, Giselle, Marissa, and a few other people. I'm not trying to be shady if I forget the names, you know, there's a lot going on. But yeah, 2:00 tomorrow here on Facebook. The March on DC March on Trans, March on, what is it? March DC Trans March.
The blackout. The blackout.
Yeah,
March.
So, yeah. So yeah.
I want to personally thank each and every one of you for doing this call with us for Unspoken Treasure Society. This was so informational and so needed for our community. I was just chiming in on some of the live and just seeing how impactful this was to some people and how some individuals really needed this and they were tuned in. So thank you all for the work that you do and the foundation that you are laying for our community in every way that you can. And I just want you all to know that I'm not above you, I'm not below you, but I'm right here with you. And I'll let Natalia close us out.
I just want to say that I thank each and every one of you for finding it not robbery to take some time to come to the table and to have this much needed conversation. I learned a lot tonight. That's why I wanted these great minds to be here. I appreciate you more than you know. I'm taking my time, and I push back from the table just a little bit because I've taken time to pour into me, because I feel like that's what you need to be an effective leader. So, you know, I just want to take the time to thank Zakia. I want to thank Tatiana. I want to thank Dwayne for going over and beyond, you know, to pour into me. I want to thank Queen for being up all night on conversations with me while her husband trying to make her go to bed, honey. But she keeps me grounded, honey. She's kept me from really freaking out a couple of times. You know, like I've called her in tears because certain things just hurt in certain ways that get to you. And when you have a sister that has your back and just tells you, don't give up because what you're doing is powerful, and keep with this movement. And it's taking me to a place that I'm above that stuff now. The stuff that used to bother me and the tears and I'm just focusing it. I'm focusing on what I need to be focused on, and I'm staying fast and praying. And that's what gets me through. But I appreciate you all. I appreciate Kayla dealing with me, calling her, talking her to death, telling her to do. Listen, what I love about Kayla, I'm just going to be real, y'all. I learned. Because baby Kayla tell you in a minute, baby, don't call me with all that foolishness. And don't call me. You know what I got going on. Don't call my phone with that. And call me later. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. And that forces me to do what I need to do. And that's why I'm to the point that I'm at now, because I started focusing. I even got a text from Alice. Is it shade? No, it's not shade. I'm changing that person that was scaring y'all off. I had to take that aggressiveness and put that aggressiveness right into me. So I started I'm doing the work, and I'm doing it double now because I'm doing the work and I'm learning all at the same time. So that when I come now, it's gonna be, can you help me or not? Because I got it. If you can't, I got it. So I know what my dream is. I know what my goal is now. So things go so much better. Everybody who tuned in, I appreciate you. I hope we answered those questions to the best of your ability. And I love you all, and I thank you to the bottom of my heart. Thank you all.